this week, Charlie Kaufman, he's sort of like doing the press rounds because he's releasing his book Antkind, I believe, next week. And you actually found the little tidbit of information with regards to his next feature film. So I think us Charlie Kaufman fans should be ecstatic and pleased about the updates on I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Let's just delve into it. What was the little piece of news we found out?
So get out your red markers
Okay.
and circle September 4th. That will be the day Charlie Kaufman's latest film will hit Netflix. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say except we are always excited for whatever he has cooking up next. And this sounds like it's going to be another distinct vision from a director. He did a profile in the New York Times this week where he mentioned a few little tidbits about what we might expect. The Times called it a phantasmagorical, tightly wound thriller, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
While Kaufman, ever humble, called it odd, small, and complicated. So I think somewhere between those two poles is where this film is going to land. So I think we're looking at like maybe another sort of contained kind of story like Anomalisa, but one that's distinctly strange and distinctly his own. It's based on a book by Ian Reid, and it has two interesting leads in Jesse Plemons, who just seems to work with one great director after the next.
Absolutely right.
And the rising Jesse Buckley is the co-star as well.
So yeah, production on this occurred back in January of 2019. So that means they've had a lot of time to figure out a festival strategy. Seeing that this is a September 4th release, I would very much imagine him or the film attempting a run at both Telluride and the Venice Film Festivals. Do you think those are in the cards for this title?
I mean, we'll see. I mean, as we know, IndieWire reported about a month ago that Netflix was going to be skipping the festival circuit entirely this year. Whether or not that remains their strategy as Venice and Telluride and TIFF try and get some kind of festivals launched, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I agree with you. I actually think Telluride is probably a really, really good fit for Kaufman and this film. But whether Netflix wants to strategize a festival setting with the premiere of the film or just do their own thing, we'll see. We have to remember they own cinemas in New York and LA. So it's very possible that they could just invite press in both cities maybe a week before to screen the film, and that'll be that. So in any case, festival or not, we'll all be watching the film in September.
Well, I don't think I've been covering the film scene for such a long time. I don't think I've ever seen such a highly anticipated film play in the first weekend of September. Usually there's like a dead zone right there, specifically for film titles that come out in late August. And I was thinking, as I was reading up on, he gave a couple of interviews, a sprinkling of interviews. And he was updating us on why Frank or Francis didn't occur. And then like a project that was around the $10 million budget range. And I feel that his type of cinema he was just born, like not born in the wrong era, but the type of films that he would normally he should have been making his own films every 3-4 years. And now it feels as if his projects fall in a range where those mini majors aren't comfortable in backing the type of indie-sized films that he wants to make. So I was thinking this week, I'm like, oh, poor guys, like he would have been well suited for the 90s and the early noughts, and his 2008 film Senadoche, New York, it feels as if that was like, there's like this line in the sand where those type of films for, I'll call them, adult films, are just not being made anymore. So um, it was nice to see how certain filmmakers that are no longer afforded that latitude or those budgets are being backed by Netflix.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really good observation. I feel like as Kaufman's career was sort of ascending, those mini majors, that sort of sweet spot of 10 to $30 million films, that whole space started evaporating. And I mean, in fairness, he conjures projects that aren't the easiest sell either. So he's always had that challenge of trying to tell his own stories that are strange and surreal and with characters that aren't always pleasant in a space that increasingly just didn't have room for it.
I'm Eric Lavallée. I'm editor-in-chief and site owner for IONCINEMA.com, and this is
Kevin Jagernauth, contributing writer for the playlist.
and together we are IndieSponge.